How to get an apprenticeship that pays you £50,000 at the end. Yes guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Jay, also known as JVSOP, also known as I'm Broke Baby. And like I said, we're going to be looking at how to get an apprenticeship that pays you a high paying salary at the end. So for me, it's going to be from my own experience. If you haven't seen any of my content before, I've talked about it before. I left school after the first year of college and I went into an apprenticeship. The apprenticeship was in engineering, and by the time I finished, I was on a high paying wage. I said it before, so I'll just say it again, it was £50,000 there or thereabouts when I was qualified. I don't work there anymore. That's why I'm disclosing, how much I'm earning, because I don't work there anymore. Haven't worked there for about 4 years. So I'm just making this video to show you some of the steps I took and some of the steps you need to take to end up getting a high paying job, or even if you just want to get an apprenticeship in whatever field that interests you. It doesn't have to be a high paying field, but a lot of you guys care about the final wage, and I know that's a lot of you guys' motivation, so let's not beat around the bush. You want to know how to get that high paying salary. So first, an apprenticeship is where you work and you learn at the same time. So for me, at the start, it was full-time college for the first year or 8 months, however you want to call it. Then after that, it was called day release. So you go 1 day college or uni, whichever apprenticeship you're doing. And then the rest of the working week, you're going to work and learning on the job. While you're on the job, you'll probably have modules that you'll have to do. So you'll have like an NVQ book that you might have to fill in every couple months and do assignments while you're at work. So there's a lot of work and education involved, which is really good, because for me, I think this was the best way for me to learn. I learned things by doing it myself and making my own mistakes and, just being hands-on. Especially in engineering, there was a lot of experience I could get there. If you want to do an apprenticeship as soon as you leave school, you're going to have to know in school what you want to do. So I feel like a lot of people go to uni because they are unsure of what they want to do career-wise, but in apprenticeship, you're pretty much sure of what you want to do in school, so you're going to be picking subjects gearing towards that. Again though, it has to be something that you can see yourself doing, not for the rest of your life, but for a majority, because you're going to be putting all that learning in to learning this trade or this skill. You're not going to want to throw that away after a couple of years. So you need to make sure that this is something you're interested in. I know it's hard when you're younger, but for me, this was engineering. I knew this from early. I was always taking apart things, trying to put them back together. I really love maths. I really love science, physics, stuff like that. So I knew from early it's something I wanted to do. Not engineering specifically, anything like mechanical. So first step, pick your subjects. I think when it was year 9 for me where you started to pick your subjects. It might have changed now. So pick the subjects that are towards the industry. So for me, maths, science, resistant materials. If you want to go into something to do with media, maybe you choose ICT, media studies, whatever's available that way. So make sure you're picking the right subjects is the first step. The next step, which is pretty underrated, is work experience. Again, different schools, different times. I don't know what years you do work experience, if you still do it. But for me, this was year 10, maybe around May, I think, maybe just before May. So I actually did my work experience for 2 weeks in a MOT garage. So I was, dealing with cars, learning how to use diagnostic equipment, going underneath cars, seeing the bits and pieces. They were teaching me about engines, when we was in between jobs, and I was just asking loads of questions because I was actually interested in it. When you're interested, you ask more questions. I learned a lot in that 2 weeks. Not on the grand scale of things, like it was, very limited what I learned, but it was enough at that age, at 14 years old, that, okay, if someone asked me about, a car, I would be able to tell them a bit about it, and they'll be like, okay, this guy actually sounds like he's interested in learning about cars, so they give me the time of day. So that's what I did. With the work experience, for me, we had a list of stuff we could pick from our school. So luckily there was a few garages on that list. However, I think you can actually put forward your own recommendation. So say for example, your dad owns a garage or your dad has a business, you can get permission from his place of work, and then you can arrange that with the schools. And if you can't do it through the school, maybe ask your dad, can I come to work with you in half term, because I'm really interested about learning about what you do at work. Okay, so if you can get some work experience, that's great. That is a very big step. That's going to put you ahead of the rest of the competition. Next stage is just to get the grade. So before you apply for apprenticeships, just make sure you're working towards the right grade. So when you look at apprenticeships, it's going to tell you need like 5 GCSEs in certain subjects, I think now they do GCSEs in, was it like 1 to 10? For me, it was A's, B's, C's, stuff like that. So for the one I applied for, you just needed minimum of C's in the subjects they wanted: ICT, maths, English and science. And you know, I've made sure I got above and beyond that, so I got A's in I think all of the subjects they needed. So make sure you get the right grades. I know I'm just putting it like it sounds simple, get the right grades, but if you want a good job, if you want a good apprenticeship, you're gonna have to put in the work. There's gonna be hundreds of people competing with you, so give yourself the best chance, get the right grades. It's not gonna be any good if you need 5 A to C's and you only got 4. Someone else is gonna be there with 10, 11 GCSEs, so you're gonna have to give yourself the best possible chance in that way as well. So depending on what apprenticeship you apply for, you've got different levels. You've got beginner all the way up to degree apprenticeships. You're gonna need to apply at the right time. So if you're in year 11 and you wanted to do an advanced apprenticeship, you'll be able to do it with your GCSE results. So what you want to do, you want to be looking at apprenticeships as early as possible, but most apprenticeships are going to be decided in the application process, I think around March. So give yourself enough time, start looking as soon as you go into year 11, then like shortlist the ones you want to do, and then make sure you get your application in at the right time. Sounds simple again, but the amount of people I've talked to and they said, oh, I want to apply for apprenticeship, but it's June, and obviously everyone's already applied and the closing date might have been May, they've missed it for the year. And most apprenticeships are run on academic year. So if you can't get it that year, you've got to wait a whole nother year. I'm going to show you the process of how you look for apprenticeships later on in the video, so make sure you stick around for that. I mentioned at the start, if you want a high wage apprenticeship. So if you want a high wage apprenticeship, or not just apprenticeship, if you want a high wage career at the end of your apprenticeship, there's no point of saying, okay, I want to earn 60, 70,000 pounds a year, but you get into a profession where the limit is 40,000, and then you moan later on in life saying, oh, I can't get a house, I can't get a car, I don't earn enough. If you chose that profession, you should be doing your research before. So I'm going to show you how to look for wage ranges in certain professions. It's not 100% accurate, but it will give you a guideline, and then you can go maybe ask someone again in your family who is in that profession and confirm with them. You don't want to be asking someone exactly how much they earn, but there's nice ways to put it. You might be able to find a cousin or something like that, and then show them this page that I'm going to show you and say, look, I'm looking to get into this career. Is this accurate? The numbers they're saying, like, could you give me a more accurate number? That way they don't actually have to disclose how much they're earning, because that's not a good question to ask people. You don't want to be asking people how much you earn. It's not a good look. So I'm going to show you an example for the industry I was in. I was an engineer or a rolling stock maintenance technician. There's loads of different job descriptions, but here I will just Google railway technician salary London, where I live, and then the first result on Google is normally a website called Glassdoor. Glassdoor is not 100% accurate. It's what people report to the website, but you can get a good idea. It will be just about accurate enough for you to do your own research after. So we're going to go on Glassdoor, ignore the stuff in dollars. You can see there's a few companies here. You've got Network Rail, Bombardier. I know from personal experience Bombardier is a depot near me. I see it on the train line, so we're going to look at Bombardier. I can tell you now that these wages are quite accurate. It's similar to what I was earning before. But again, you can maybe even go on LinkedIn, Facebook, try and network with some people. I know if you're younger, it might be hard, but you can just see there's an accurate estimate there. So here you've got a little estimate of how much you can expect to earn when you're fully qualified after you've done this apprenticeship. So now you know the profession you want to get into, you're happy with the final salary, you're going to look for apprenticeships to get into this profession. So again, I'm going to stick with engineering. We're going to go on apprenticeships.gov.uk. That's probably the main website to look at. You can also look at each individual company's website and see if they're offering, their job roles there for apprenticeships. But this is where you can see a lot of them. So you just put in your industry and your postcode, and it's going to show you loads of apprenticeships like this. So I found a good one here. It's actually a degree apprenticeship, which is really good. You're going to get a degree at the end of it without all the debt of going to uni. And it's going to tell you the wages. So I know wage ain't everything, but £20,000 a year starting salary, is a decent amount for an apprenticeship. People think all apprenticeships are minimum wage. They're not, they're actually not. And it's gonna tell you what level it is. So look, you get a degree at the end of it, which is really good. And it's gonna tell you what qualifications you need. So GCSEs, A-levels or BTEC. So A-levels and BTEC are kind of equivalent. For this, you're gonna have to go to college for 2 years to do your engineering BTEC. So if you want to get into this, you know the requirements now, and then you can apply if you already meet the requirements. Now you've applied for the apprenticeships, hopefully you get to the interview stage if you meet the qualifications, and you're gonna have to prepare like crazy. Like there's so much demand for these apprenticeships. There's gonna be hundreds of people competing. So do your research on the company that you're applying for, extensive research, not just go on their website and have a little look. You wanna, do like a history research of the company, what their goals are for the future, stuff like that. Like you're gonna do an extensive research on the company. Then whatever industry it is, so I'm just gonna keep on using engineering as an example, or rolling stock engineering as an example. You're gonna find out, say like what trains they service. You can find out on Google quite easily. You're gonna do research on how they work, on where they're used. You're just gonna do as much research as possible, because when it comes to the interview, you're gonna have all this knowledge and they're gonna be impressed that you've done your research. Even if you don't remember everything, they're gonna appreciate that you've gone the extra mile, and they're looking for people who are going to complete their apprenticeship. They don't want people who are gonna do 2 years and give up. They want people who are showing enthusiasm, who's showing they really want the job, because they're gonna be spending a lot of money on you. I know a lot of people think minimum wage is subsidized by the government, but they do spend a lot of money on you. My apprenticeship, they paid me good wages. They made sure they had apprenticeship mentors, stuff like that. They were spending a lot of money on us. So they need to pick the right person. One apprentice could be costing that company, £100,000 over that 4 years. So you need to show that you are the right person. So put yourself across right by doing the research. So you don't want to be just applying to one apprenticeship. I got lucky, and to be honest, I only done one interview for one apprenticeship and I ended up getting it. But you want to be applying for a few. I did apply for a few, which I turned down because they weren't for me. But apply for a few. If you don't get one, you still got options there. And if you don't get any of them, don't give up. You might have an extra year then to get the qualifications that you need to put yourself ahead. So for this apprenticeship, you needed the BTEC in engineering. So if you got another year and you didn't get any apprenticeships, you might be able to go back to college and add on some more modules, or you might be able to do a course that's relating to it. You might be able to do a mechanics course, something that's going to set you apart from the rest of the people. You can come back next year. 1 year doesn't make a difference. Trust me, I had people in my apprenticeship who were 2-3 years older than me when I started. As long as you're the right person, they'll take you. So if you're going back a year later and you said, look, I didn't get it last year, but I've done this course because I think it's gonna help me with apprenticeship, they will really like that. So don't give up if you don't get the first year. So let's assume now that you've got an apprenticeship, happy days, like you're gassed. This is where I think a lot of people struggle. During my apprenticeship, there was people who didn't complete it. They didn't finish it, either they got sacked, they quit. Something happened along the way that stopped them from completing it. They didn't get the right grades in a college course, so they had to let them go. You've done the hardest bit to get an apprenticeship. Now just keep up, make sure you complete all your college work. Remember, when you're an apprentice, you're gonna be earning money while your friends are probably still at college or in uni. You're gonna have a bit of money to spend. You might wanna buy a nice car. You might wanna go out every weekend. You can do all that, but it needs to be in moderation. You need to still complete your work. You're gonna have work from college. Your work is probably going to give you extra work that has nothing to do with your qualifications. They just want you to learn as much as possible. You can have mentors there. Keep your head down, do all your work, get along with everyone. That's the advice I'm going to give you to get through to the end of your apprenticeship. Once you get to the end, hopefully you've completed everything, all your college courses, your MVQs, everything like that. You're gonna need to get a job with that company. Depending on what their wage is, their wage might not be great. You might not want a job with that company. So what you can do before your apprenticeship finishes, maybe 4 months, 3 months before you get your college certificate or your apprenticeship certificate, you can apply for companies with similar job roles at the end. So for example, I done engineering. Before I finished, I worked for Virgin Trains at the time. It was called Virgin Trains. I applied for a TfL job. I got through to the final stage of the interview, and by the time I got through to the final stage of the interview, I actually got offered a job at my company. The wage was similar and I just wanted to stay at my company, so I stayed there in the end. But I made sure I had options. I didn't want to get to the end with no job, so I applied for TfL, made sure I'd done my research for them to get to the final stage of the interview. I knew I'd be on a similar wage, so whichever one I took, I would have been good at the end of it. I wouldn't have been scrambling for a job at the end. So, you're gonna prepare for the end of your apprenticeship. We never know what's gonna happen. The current economic climate, you never know if that company is gonna be facing financial issues. So make sure you're prepared to get a job at the end. It doesn't have to be with that company, it could be with another company. So hopefully that's it. Hopefully you prepare, you get the job at the end, and now you're on your final salary. Like I said, you need to research the industries before you even go into the apprenticeship. You don't want to get to the end, be offered a final salary that you thought you would have been getting double that. Make sure you choose the right industry. If money motivates you, go for an industry where there's money. If you're not money motivated, then find the right working environment. Nowadays, apprenticeships are even more sought after, so you're gonna have to set yourself apart, do all the steps I said, make sure you keep your head down. Hopefully this has helped. Make sure you drop a like and subscribe if you want more videos like this, and remember, I'm broke, baby.